Hey guys, it's Clovis, and today I'm gonna do a tutorial on S8, specifically the gold S8. This is notorious for being what most people agree is the hardest test in the game. In my opinion, there are harder tests. I'm not saying it's not difficult, and don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna be hyperbolic and say it's easy, because it's not. But there's a few things you can learn about this test that will help you out a lot. Most of the difficulty of this actually comes from the fact that if you go full throttle on this car at a low speed, you will just spin out entirely. So you just simply cannot do that. Quickly, if you haven't rebound your controls, you probably should. For example, if you're still using X to accelerate, that is bad. It's really, really difficult to control your throttle. Again, a gas pedal in the car it's not a button, it's a pedal. And the best way to simulate that is, if you have a controller with triggers, you can do L2 and R2 for braking and accelerating. Otherwise, for example, traditional PlayStation 2 controller, your best option is to just rebind accelerate to right stick up and brake to right stick down. And this just gives you more control over your throttle, which is important it's important in literally every test, all driving and everything, but for this example specifically, it is just, yeah, completely different. So let's go ahead and go into the test and try to talk about what we're doing. Again, it will take a few attempts to do this, so don't feel disheartened if you don't get it straight away. I'm not going to get it straight away. So I'll go through a run, quick commentator run, probably get like a bronze or something, or fail outright. So you see what happens if you full throttle? Your car just goes completely out. If you are smooth on the throttle though, your car is fine with that behavior. Just the fact that this car is so fast makes it terrifying, but you can do it. Slow speed section, you really cannot afford to go full throttle until your car is dead straight. Even slightly on the throttle there, my car spins out entirely. And again, you wait until your car is dead straight before you go on full throttle. You see the tire spin a bit, but your car doesn't spin out. Slamming the brakes, very important. No full throttle yet. Again, wait until your car is pointed where it needs to be before you go full throttle. And then this last section is very difficult to do precisely. But you need to trust the downforce in your car. You need to trust your car to steer when you're accelerating. No full throttle yet. Touching the wall, obviously very bad. Again, you cannot full throttle too early there. And then you have to cut through the right, and again, you don't want to touch the wall. You do not want to touch the wall. Now here's the thing, if I made all of those mistakes, and I'm only about a second and 2/10 off the gold, you can see how doable this challenge actually is. So again, the challenge is very, very difficult, but the game knows it's a difficult challenge, and it's actually quite generous for you. So that was my first attempt, pretty spaghetti-handed. I touched the wall like 5 times. I even spun the car out like a few times. So yeah, let's try doing it again. So this time, I'm going to be a bit lighter on the throttle on this exit here until my car's dead straight, and then suddenly full throttle. And now you can see my car is going to catch up and exceed because my exit speed is higher. And now slam the brakes, turn to the right. You can try to full throttle there if you're going low, but then you have to kind of inevitably stop. Slam the brakes, turn into the right, no full throttle yet. Car's dead straight, so I can full throttle. And again, wait until I'm dead straight before I full throttle. If you full throttle before your car is dead straight, you will spin out. That is just a fact. You can see I kind of cheated there by using the wall to catch me and straighten me up, which you can do in this test, which makes it a lot easier than it seems. Slamming the brakes, slow and careful for this bit is quite important. So semi-throttle, and then once I'm, again, turned towards where I want to go and straight, I can full throttle. Turn sharply into the left. If you're going to slam into the wall, just let go of the throttle. Tap the brake, turn to the right. Too far out there, I should be touching the curb. And then again, wait till you're straight to full throttle. Otherwise, you spin out. Very close. So that's the thing. I feel like every corner in this track, I could have done so much better. Like, pretty much all of them I could have done better. And I'm so close to the gold. Really do not be discouraged with this test. I'm telling you, once you get good control over this car, it will come to you. And I'm serious about that. I think this is going to be a very good confidence boost if you can manage to do this. And slow down to second. Way too slow there. You can also control your drift like that. It's quite fancy. It's very good. Again, like semi-throttle in first gear. Never, ever, ever full throttle in first gear. Just do not do it. Slamming the brakes. This is where you should be careful. Be very careful. And again, full throttle. I know I said that every time, but wait until you point to where you need to be to full throttle. And your car is straight. Very unfortunate that we failed there. That again is just a human mistake. And you will make mistakes when you do this, so. And again, you can see, if your car, like even though I took that very slowly and carefully, if your tires do not spin, you get a good exit speed. I lost my exit speed there because I touched the wall, which is just a very simple, basic, avoidable mistake. I was a bit too early on the full throttle there. I should have straightened up my car first. And again, see, when I was turning in full throttle, my car just spins out entirely. And you kind of have to use the wall to catch you and go back on track there. So again, careful, right. Oh, that was bad. That was very bad. We'll see if we can recover from that. Probably not. Yep, no. Now, the thing is about first corners is you can, like, try to just keep getting the perfect first corner. I don't think I need to, which is why I'm not bothering. But for example, you can just restart until you get that. And then based on my time, you can see I'm only like a 10th off. If I do the rest exactly the same that I did in that run, then I'm already going to beat it. Because I'm like over a 10th ahead. Slam the brakes. Turn to the left. Give yourself about like a split second before you get back on the throttle. And if you hear your tires spinning, just dip the throttle a little bit. Just get off full throttle, like as soon as you hear tires spinning. It should just become a reaction after a while. Dead straight at second, you can full throttle. It's not the worst thing ever. Slamming those brakes, let go a little bit. I was way too early on the throttle there, so I did suffer a bit there. But it's fine, not a complete catastrophe. Sharp turn to the left, full throttle, tap the brake, turn right. Hold the brake, turn right. Gentle throttle, because you're second gear there, and then wait until you're straight full throttle. Straighten up before you brake, you have to straighten up there. I bounced off the wall, that is very bad. That is also bad. Being really careful on the exit there. And I mean, look at this, guys. Like, you can see clearly that I made mistakes in this run. And I beat this by almost 2 whole seconds. This test, I am telling you, the game knows it is a hard test. If you put in the effort, you will get this gold. It will be a huge boost of confidence for you, and I do think it will actually help you driving all the race cars and the Formula 1 cars as well. Like, if you can drive this car well when there's no traction control or active stability management is the other driver assist in this game, then you can drive these cars extremely well when you do have the driver assist enabled. So let's go ahead and look at this replay again. So when I play this replay, I'm gonna show you the whole thing without any commentary, so you can just run and rewatch if you need to, and then I'm gonna go back through it with commentary. So let's do that. Okay, so if you ever need for reference to look at that without me pausing or talking over it, that is, you can go back to that part. Now I'm going to do a commentary through this replay. Again, the bottom left, the inputs of accelerating and braking and turning, these are the things you should be paying the most attention to on the screen, apart from the actual driving line, you know, where the car is positioned on the road. So let's go ahead and have a look. So before we even get to this first corner, you'll see as I turn in, I don't want to be holding full throttle. That is exactly how you spin out. So you notice as I turn, I apply as much throttle as I think I can without what's going to make me spin out. And you also notice that there is a bit of a gap between braking and accelerating. When the car's coasting, it'll turn in a lot smoother. And what this also does, that little gap between braking and accelerating, is it resets and kind of neutralizes the weight of the car. If you hard accelerate after braking, your car would just kind of been like shaking back and forth. It's not quite stable. So when you throw the car through the corner after accelerating and then you coast, there's less risk of spinning out as you follow through the corner. And then as your car is fast enough, say it's in third gear and you're going straight enough, now you can apply full throttle. So you can see where I tap the brake, it is basically just before it turns to a flat surface, just before. And I know this doesn't seem very important. It's less about distance and more the fact that you're braking before you land on the flat surface, before the end of the hill. This just helps your car, like, again, I know this might seem like too big-brained and confusing, but the physics of the car are actually very important to the behavior of the car. Braking before you crest that hill just helps your car, like, know what it's supposed to do. Your car is stable as you flatten out. And then once your car is stable, you can start turning to the left. And you can see at the input on the bottom left, whenever I tap the throttle and then go full throttle, it's not because I think you should exactly do that, but what I'm actually doing there is I tap to feel for the grip of the car. If you tap the throttle and your tires don't spin, you know your car is going to commit. Your car is going to make it if you hold full throttle. And again, there you can see I've made the mistake. I've touched the wall on the right. You obviously don't do that. You can avoid this just by being a bit closer, a bit further away from the left side. But again, just to demonstrate to you, you can make mistakes in this and still beat it by like almost 2 seconds as I did. So the important thing is stuff like that is very, very small in comparison to just spinning out entirely. And now this is a tricky one. So watch the inputs here. So look at this specifically. When you've turned to the right, you notice now the car is going downwards, and this is shifting the weight of the car completely. So all the weight of the car is at the front, which normally for a mid-engine car, all the weight is in the middle. It's between the front and the rear axes, which makes the car a lot more stable and planted to the ground just because it has a better center of gravity. But as you're going downhill, what happens is the weight of your car transfers to the front, and because, of course, it's a rear-wheel drive, with all your power on the rear, and, you know, this car being insanely powerful, your car is just going to be thrown out completely if you do not actively stabilize it. If you're not consciously at least trying to straighten it up, if you hold full throttle here, your car's just going to spin out entirely. Like, it's ridiculous. So that is why right here you can see I've tapped steering to the left. Again, this is counter steering. I'm not steering to the left because I want to drive into the left. I'm steering to the left because my car is turning right and I want to stop it turning right. And then you can see as soon as my car is actually straight, I'm back on neutral. You can even quickly tap to the right before you leave the steering neutral, and that'll keep your car straight. A habit during driving is actually, if you want to straighten up the car, to just flick the stick left and right, like quickly. You don't have to do this more than twice, but that will just straighten up the car. Or you just do that until the car is straight. This section is very important, so again, the test is generous so that you can take the slower sections slowly and then fang it through the top sections. You can see my throttle here. I don't really want to hold full throttle. I kind of tap it to send the car through as I'm steering. And then if I want more grip, what I actually want to do is straighten the car up and then accelerate gently. And if my car is dead straight, I can full throttle. The tires do kind of spin, but it just helps you get through the section quicker. So we're going to try to straighten up here, and you'll see again on the bottom input. Once I want to stop turning to the right, I'm going to flick the stick to the left to go straight. So just like that. You can see quickly just before I paused, you can see the steering is on the left. And I tap it left again. Once my car is pointed here, you can see the bottom left, I'm full throttle. And then you can see my car sort of slides here. Your car is being thrown through to the left. This is probably the most dangerous part of the whole track. I know it doesn't seem like it, but you really have to take this slowly. Don't try to be too fancy with this. Take it slowly, easy on the throttle. Again, do not full throttle until your car is dead straight. And even though your tires are spinning there, that is actually, unless you're like an AI, like open AI perfect to getting the throttle exactly at its limit, when your car is straight, if you full throttle, it just kind of throws your car forward. Even though your tires are spinning, your car is just like pushed forward, which actually does make these sections a lot fast to compensate for the slow corners. Again, once you're dead straight, you can full throttle. If your tires spin up, at least you don't crash out, you know? You can brake if anything goes wrong. You notice there as well, on that curb, if you full throttle on that curb, you're gone. First gear, second gear, turning, you don't want to full throttle. On the curb, however, again, this is a very stiff, this car has very stiff suspension, so touching anything like a curb will make your car bounce off, and when your tires aren't on the ground, you have no grip. And then when you land, especially if you land your full throttle, you're just gone. You're just gone completely. And you can see I'm kind of waiting until I'm like straight enough to full throttle here. And again here, see, I'm not committing to full throttle until I am turned and my car is where I actually want to start accelerating towards. Like that. So here, the important thing to look out is for the braking point. You'll notice I brake probably a bit too early and then kind of let go of the brake and get on the brake again. Again, it's just a demonstration that you don't need to be too anal about this chicane in general. This chicane coming up, it's more about not failing than it is doing it perfectly. So let's have a look. You actually see I make a mistake on this chicane. So you see my car starts turning towards the left. Because I full throttle too early without stabilizing my car. So that forces me to brake and turn sharply to the left. But again, because you're doing these corners, these are really tough ones, so slowly, if you make a slight mistake like that, you might lose like 1/10 of a second and it's still totally goldable. Now, very important, you can see I'm hard steering to the right, not on full throttle, because at this speed, if you full throttle and you turn, you just spun out completely. So you can see I kind of wait until I'm straight. I reactively turn to the right because it looks like my car is about to crash into that fence. So luckily I dodged that bullet. So coming up is quite important. Again, you can look back to the replay where I don't commentate on this so that you can just see it uninterrupted with no pauses. But I think this next sequence coming up is actually very important to do correctly, or at least to understand what you're doing. Because if you don't throw your car through these corners, it is way slower than it should be. So coming up, you'll see I tap the brake. So again, pay attention to the inputs and the order of turning, braking, accelerating, and opposite turning. Also, pay attention to how little I brake. Even though I go full brake, it's for like a split second. Like it's literally just a flick and nothing else. And the reason for that is, again, that kind of just changes the behavior of your car as it's going through the corner. If you tap the brake and your car slows down, it pushes your weight to the front of the car, which is where your steering is. And so tapping the brake actually helps you steer into corners just by throwing the weight on the front of the car where, you know, the car obviously is steering and turning. Did you see that? It was just the tiniest tap, and yet that is so crucial to doing this correctly. And I even did it the opposite way around. I think that wasn't even a full brake. It was just like 70 to 80%. Still, for all intents and purposes, it does the same thing. Just flicking that brake, again, just puts the weight to the front tires so you can steer better. And again, so this is very, very, very important to be at this angle and not full throttle. Because you're obviously going to be turning to the left. And, well, we'll see what happens. You want to be turning gently to the left. And then at this point, when you're turning straight, now you can full throttle. Again, you can see you're in the third gear. So it's actually safe to full throttle as long as you're going straight and in third gear. And see, there's no... there is no spinning. Like, my tires do not spin when I'm in third gear and going full throttle in a straight line. It just does not spin. So here I make a mistake, which I just hit this little curb here. Sorry, not the curb, just this wall, the railing. And you can easily avoid that by just steering a little bit later than I did. I just steered in too early. That's the mistake that I made. But you can see I don't panic, okay? I do not panic. There's no need to. And so that, you can see what happens when you full throttle when your car isn't quite straight. And then, so at this angle, this is actually a very bad angle. You kind of want to be on the left side and turning to the right. So what I do is throw the car into the corner. And then, now you can see where my car is poised. Even though I'm not steering to the right, my car is being spun, it's like being thrown into the corner into the right. So you can see I'm just getting on the throttle now. Because once I'm at that point, right here, you can see my my car is pointed directly like through this line, this is where my car wants to go. I want my car to go in the direction that I pointed in right now. So now is when I hit full throttle. Do not hit full throttle unless your car is actually pointed in the direction you want to go, especially for corners like this. This doesn't apply 100% of the time, and I know it probably sounds like I'm stating the obvious, but if you full throttle before your car is pointed to where you want to be, you're just going to crash into the fence on the left. So you have to wait. It's very, it's like you're kind of reacting to what's on the screen. And once you know you're in the clear and you full throttle as early as possible, but no earlier than that. And you can see that kind of line there. It's like a straight line from this point past this curb. So even though this is technically a turn, you want to turn into it so that, like, kind of early, so that you can take the rest in a straight line. And then obviously you have to naturally turn here. But there you go. That's the commentator lap, basically. Again, I did this. Really didn't take me too long to do. And I'm not saying this to brag or anything. I'm just saying that this test, even though it is difficult, the game knows it's difficult, and it wants you to beat it. So practice it, and it will also teach you a lot about driving. And again, I think the main red flag, or what people find the most difficult about that, is getting on the just full throttle when you shouldn't be full throttling is the worst thing you can do. And it's kind of the game's fault, because the default controls is the X to accelerate, because, you know, PlayStation 2 had pressure-sensitive buttons, and they had to show that off, so that's the default, but you should be changing it to the stick. Right stick forward and right stick back. Or if you have triggers on your controller, like say if you're playing on the PS3, like backwards compatible PS3, you can use your PS3 controller triggers if you prefer that. But my controller doesn't have triggers. I just use the stick. But yeah. I got S8. It was one of my first S golds. I'm not kidding you. I actually found S6 to be the hardest, personally. S6 was the last licensed S gold I got out of all of them. S5 is also very difficult. I personally also found S4 to be more difficult to S8. And I think it's because S4, actually, it wants you to be precise for everything. It actually just wants you to put a perfect lap in. But the thing about S8, and also S7, is they're well aware that you're going to be spinning a lot, and they want you to kind of control the car and not spin out too much, is basically what they want you to do. So there's like a relationship on S7 and S8 between doing it fast and not making a mistake. Whereas a lot of these other ones will just like do it fast. Even though, you know, like S6, you're very likely to spin out on a lot of the corners, and you've got the corkscrew in S6 as well. And just the timing for S6 is so tight. The timing for like S7 and S8 is more generous. So yeah, that's my tutorial for S8. I really, really, really hope it helped, because I know a lot of people find this test very, very scary and very difficult. But I think you can do it. I really think you guys can do it. So practice it until you get it. Don't give up. And once you get S8 gold, you will probably feel more capable of doing all the golds, especially in the S license. And if you get all the golds in the S license, you get the Viper concept car, which is very, very cool. So yeah, hope you guys like this tutorial. And if you want to see more of these, please leave a comment asking what like tests you want to see. This isn't a thing to be like sub and like and comment. I don't really care about that shit, but I genuinely will read your comments. If you want to see more tutorials, please let me know, and I will do them upon request. So thanks again for watching one last time. I will see you guys in the next video, whatever that's going to be. Bye bye.